All right, hello class. Going to cover chapter 20 now in the vocabulary book. So what you should do now is open your vocabulary book to page 114. That's the first page of chapter 20. I expect that if you're listening to this video, you've finished the entire chapter 20 already. So if you have not completed page 14, 114, 115, 116, and 117, please stop the video, complete the entire chapter first, then come back and check your answers. Okay, so I already gave you the lecture for 114 and 115, but now I want to review the answers to all of the questions because I had just read the sentences for you before. So let's go ahead and look at some answers on page 114, 15, 116, and 117. I'm going to review all of chapter 20 in this video. Okay, so first of all, the first word is aloof, and the correct answer is C, as in cat. That means cold, or not a warm and happy person. So an aloof person kind of stays away from you, okay? Kind of egotistical maybe, or yeah, not very friendly. So an aloof person, we say cold because they're not friendly. Okay, the next word is ambivalent. The correct answer is B. Ambivalent means having mixed feelings. You're just really not sure about something. Somebody says, are you going to get this job or that job? You might say, I'm ambivalent about that, just not sure. Okay, the next word is augment. A, it means to add to, obviously. If you augment something, you add to it in some kind of favorable way. Some people might augment the paint on their cars by putting a stripe or some kind of picture or something. Okay. Dispel is B, to eliminate. In this case, dispel means to get rid of something, but usually, I think these examples more emotional in nature. If you dispel a misunderstanding or you dispel a bad feeling, you might say something nice to a person. Okay, the next one is explicit, and the correct answer is C. If someone gives you an explicit answer, what they're doing is giving you a very specific answer. So, next word, longevity, is B, a long life. So if someone has longevity, they live a long time. 115, the word magnitude, A, is a great amount. Magna, like magnifying glass, makes something bigger. So magnitude talks about the size of something being very big. Okay, 8, mundane, C is the correct answer. Mundane, commonplace, boring, usual, nothing different. 9, obscure, is B, that means unclear. If something's obscure, you can't quite see it or you can't quite understand it. Obscure could be both vision or thinking. But B is the right answer, unclear, unable to see very clearly. And then finally 10, render, the correct answer is B, to make. And now below, starting with number 1, matching words with definitions at the bottom of 115. Number 1 is dispel. Number 2, magnitude. 3, mundane. 4, explicit. 5, ambivalent. 6, render. 7, obscure. 8, aloof. 9, augment. And finally 10, longevity. And now the next page. Obviously, sentence check 1 answers are in the back, and I ask you to go ahead and complete these. So I'm going to go ahead and read through all of the correct answers here. And if I go too fast on the video, remember, you can pause that and go back and listen again. So I'll try to go at a reasonable pace, but I also know that you can pause the video and double check if needed. So we're starting with sentence check 2. 1 and 2. When asked about his longevity, 90-year-old Mr. Green gives an explicit recipe for a long life. Eat well, exercise, and stay away from hospitals. It's ironic, he explained, that I got the worst infection of my life at a hospital. 3 and 4. Harriet was able to augment the family income by working overtime. Although her fiscal worries dwindled, her problems with her husband and children increased in magnitude as a result. 5 and 6. I'm ambivalent about playing with our rock band. The music is a source of elation for me, but I'm afraid it will render me deaf one of these days. Deaf means unable to hear. Okay, top of page 117, 7 and 8. Gail sometimes appears cold and conceited, but she is aloof only toward people whom she strongly dislikes. With all others, her usual genial and modest manner soon dispels any impression that she is overly proud. So aloof and dispel. All right, 9 and 10. Does the idea that we don't always see things as they really are seem obscure to you? The teacher asked. If so, it will become clearer if you relate to the mundane experience of looking down a road. Doesn't it look narrower in the distance than it really is? So obscure and mundane. 9 and 10. All right, and now for final check, I will read this for you. Please follow along in your book and make sure that you have all the correct answers here. I remember watching my older sister, Ruth, as she removed the last spiked curler from her hair. We gaped at the result. Somehow she had rendered her hair limp as spaghetti. When Ruth started to cry, I tried to pacify her with my usual gentleness. Why are you such a crybaby about some stupid guy? The guy was Stephen Meyer. He and Ruth were going to a high school dance. She'd had a crush on him for years. A crush means she liked him a lot. She'd had a crush on him for years for reasons that were obscure to me. I had never been able to discern what she saw in him. When Ruth began to augment her makeup by applying some more powder, she gave a terrifying scream that probably reduced my longevity by at least a year. She informed me, between sobs, that a pimple had just appeared on her nose. A pimple is a little blemish, making her look like a vile witch. I studied her face, expecting a pimple of truly amazing magnitude. Instead, I spotted a tiny speck. I tried to dispel Ruth's worries. So it makes you look like a witch. Don't you want to look bewitching? Bewitching means beautiful and interesting. But she just began to cry again. I took this opportunity to go downstairs and wait for Stephen Meyer. He arrived a half an hour before Ruth was ready. In the meantime, while waiting for Ruth, we talked, and I tried to figure out exactly what Ruth saw in him, meaning what she liked in him. Finally, she appeared, trying to look aloof. She came downstairs very slowly, wearing a cool, distant expression. When Ruth returned home later that night, her comment about the evening was both brief and explicit. Totally rotten. She contended that Stephen, far from being extraordinary, had turned out to be deficient in personality. The most mundane sort of person in the world. It seemed Ruth had bypassed feeling ambivalent about Stephen and gone straight from love to hate. It's just as well, since I've been married to Stephen for 10 years now. A funny ending to that story. All right, very quickly then. 1, render. 2, obscure. 3, augment. 4, longevity. 5, magnitude. 6, dispel. 7, aloof. 8, explicit. 9, mundane. And 10, ambivalent. That covers all the answers to chapter 20. So I hope that confirmed all of your correct answers. Make, obviously, any corrections to answers that you may have gotten wrong there. Okay, that concludes the video lecture for chapter 20.